The studio lights glowed with a warm brilliance that made everything feel golden, like the start of a bright new day. The set of the Kelly Clarkson Show buzzed with energy as the cameras swept across the cheering audience, capturing their anticipation. Kelly, glowing as always in her vibrant outfit, smiled wide at the crowd before turning toward her guest of the morning, Joanna Gaines, America's home design darling, the Magnolia Queen herself. The audience erupted in applause as Joanna walked out, poised and graceful, her trademark modest smile lighting up her face. She waved gently, her movements calm but elegant, and took her seat across from Kelly. For years, fans had watched Joanna and her husband, Chip, transform houses and dreams on television. Now she was here, ready to chat about life, business, and the new projects Magnolia had been unveiling. Everyone expected laughter, warmth, maybe even a sweet anecdote about her kids or Chip's goofy antics. At first, that's exactly what they got. Kelly welcomed her with genuine admiration. "I've got to say, Joanna, I'm so inspired by how you've built your empire while keeping your family such a priority. You're one of those people who makes us all believe it's possible to have both." Joanna chuckled softly, her Texas accent peeking through. "Well, thank you, Kelly. I wouldn't say I always have it figured out, but I do my best. We've built Magnolia brick by brick, and we've tried to make sure our kids see us putting family first. That's what matters." The audience applauded warmly, charmed by the sincerity. For several minutes, the conversation was lighthearted. They discussed Joanna's latest design book, the expansion of Magnolia Network, and a behind-the-scenes story about how Chip once showed up late to a meeting covered in sawdust. The room filled with laughter, Kelly leaning over her desk as tears of mirth pricked her eyes. It was exactly the kind of wholesome, easy interview viewers tuned in for. But then, Kelly shifted the energy with a subtle turn. She leaned forward, her smile thinning into something more inquisitive, her tone less playful. "Joanna," she began, "you've built this empire, and it's incredible. But lately, there's been talk, fans, critics, even some former colleagues, who've raised concerns that Magnolia is starting to lose the authenticity that made it so special. Some say it's becoming more of a corporation than a passion project. How do you respond to that?" The room changed instantly. You could almost feel the collective breath of the audience catch in their throats. Joanna blinked, caught off guard by the sharpness of the question. She straightened in her chair, her smile faltering as her hands rested tightly in her lap. For a moment, silence filled the space, broken only by the soft hum of the studio lights. "Well," Joanna said carefully, her voice steady but tighter than before. "I think people forget that growth doesn't mean losing your heart. Chip and I started Magnolia with nothing but an idea and a dream. We've stayed true to who we are at every step. Just because more people know our name now doesn't mean the message has changed." Kelly nodded politely, but she pressed on. "I respect that, I really do. But do you think there's a point where success might change perception? Fans who fell in love with Magnolia's small-town charm say they feel a little disconnected now. They feel like it's bigger, less personal." Joanna's jaw tightened, though her voice remained calm. "Kelly, with all due respect, people will always have opinions. But I know my heart, and I know what we put into every project. It's still about creating spaces that feel like home, that bring families together. That's never changed." The tension was growing. Audience members shifted in their seats, glancing between the two women as if watching a spark hover dangerously close to a flame. Kelly, perhaps sensing the unease, gave a small laugh to soften the air. "I'm not trying to attack you, Joanna. I just think people want to hear your perspective directly. You've always been so open, and I think that's why people love you so much." Joanna tilted her head slightly, her smile more restrained now. "I appreciate that, but it does feel like we're reducing years of sacrifice, of pouring our lives into this, to a soundbite. It's not fair." The air thickened even more when Kelly raised another point, her voice careful but unyielding. "There's also been controversy recently around a Magnolia project that critics say didn't treat some of the behind-the-scenes workers fairly. A few articles called into question whether your brand does enough to protect the people who help make it all happen. What do you say to those claims?" That was the breaking point. Joanna's composure cracked, her calm mask slipping to reveal visible frustration. She let out a sharp breath, her hands gripping the armrests of her chair. "Kelly, I've worked too hard and given too much of myself to sit here and defend my integrity. I will not have everything I've poured into Magnolia questioned for the sake of ratings." The audience let out a collective gasp. Kelly's eyes widened, her mouth opening as if to explain, but Joanna was already on her feet. She adjusted her dress, her microphone catching the sound of her voice as she muttered, "That's enough." The cameras caught every moment. Her chair creaked as she pushed it back, the heels of her shoes clicking sharply against the studio floor as she strode off stage. The stunned silence of the audience was almost deafening. Kelly reached out a hand as if to stop her, her expression a mix of surprise and regret. "Joanna." "Wait," she called, but Joanna didn't look back. Within seconds, she was gone, leaving an empty chair and a stunned host on live television. The whispers rippled across the studio, the audience trying to process what they had just witnessed. Kelly glanced at the camera, her professional instincts kicking in, though her expression betrayed shock. "Well," she said after a long pause, her voice unsteady but trying to keep things light, "that wasn't the direction I thought today would go." The audience gave a nervous laugh, unsure of how else to react. The segment ended abruptly, producers scrambling behind the scenes as the show cut to commercial. But the damage was done. The walk-off wasn't just a moment, it was a spectacle, one that would be replayed, shared, and debated endlessly. What had begun as a warm, friendly morning chat had ended in a fiery, unforgettable storm. And it was only the beginning of what would spiral into one of the most talked-about talk show clashes of the year. The clip of Joanna Gaines walking off the Kelly Clarkson Show traveled at lightning speed. Before the studio audience had even left their seats, the moment was already trending online. A shaky phone recording from someone in the crowd hit Twitter within minutes, capturing Joanna's sharp, "That's enough," and her swift exit. The internet did the rest. By the time the official broadcast aired later that afternoon, hashtags like #JoannaWalksOff and #KellyVsJoanna were dominating trending lists. The nation was divided. Some people applauded Kelly Clarkson for being a real journalist, saying she asked the questions that needed to be asked about Magnolia's expansion and controversies. Others blasted her for ambushing a guest they saw as wholesome, authentic, and undeserving of such public scrutiny. Kelly blindsided her, one Twitter user wrote. "That was supposed to be a friendly interview, not an interrogation." Another countered, "If Joanna can't answer tough questions, maybe she's hiding something." News outlets jumped on the story, plastering screenshots of Joanna mid-stride, her face tight with frustration, alongside Kelly's stunned expression. Entertainment talk shows replayed the clip on loop, dissecting every detail of Joanna's tone, body language, and decision to leave. Even mainstream news programs covered the spat, framing it as a conversation about celebrity branding, authenticity, and the limits of daytime television. Inside Magnolia headquarters in Waco, Texas, the atmosphere was tense. Employees huddled around screens, watching the moment play out again and again. Chip Gaines, known for his easygoing humor, was anything but lighthearted this time. "Joe is one of the most gracious people I know," he reportedly told staff in a closed-door meeting. "If she walked away, it's because she was pushed too far. She doesn't do drama for attention. She protects her heart, and she protects what we've built. Nobody gets to twist that." Behind the scenes, Kelly Clarkson's producers scrambled. Damage control meetings stretched late into the night. Some producers defended Kelly, saying she had asked valid, timely questions. Others worried the interview had crossed a line. "This isn't 60 Minutes, one crew member was overheard saying. "Viewers expect honesty, yes, but they also expect warmth. We can't look like we're ambushing people." Kelly herself was conflicted. She admired Joanna and hadn't intended to cause harm. That evening, she went live on Instagram to address the fallout. Sitting casually at home in a sweatshirt, Kelly spoke earnestly to her fans. "Look, I love Joanna. I've admired her for years. I wasn't trying to attack her, I just asked the questions people keep asking me when they hear she's coming on. I thought it was a chance for her to set the record straight. I'm sorry if it came across as harsh. That wasn't my intention at all." The comments flooded in. Some applauded her transparency. Others accused her of throwing gasoline on the fire. "Kelly, you didn't read the room," one fan commented bluntly. For 3 days, Joanna remained silent. The silence was deafening. Rumors swirled. Was she planning to sue? Would she refuse to appear on any talk shows going forward? Was Magnolia drafting a carefully worded press statement? Paparazzi camped outside her farmhouse in Waco, hoping for a comment. Headlines speculated about a rift between Joanna and other celebrities who had supported Kelly's show. Finally, Joanna broke the silence. A video appeared on Magnolia's official YouTube channel. The setting was unmistakable. Her farmhouse kitchen, bathed in soft natural light, with white shiplap walls and neatly stacked cookbooks in the background. Dressed simply in a cream sweater, her hair loose, Joanna looked directly into the camera with a calm, serious expression. "The past week has been overwhelming," she began, her voice gentle but deliberate. "I know people are curious about what happened on Kelly's show. Here's the truth. I walked off because I felt the conversation was no longer productive. I've never been afraid of hard conversations. I welcome them, but not when they cross into questioning my integrity. My work, my family, and my team mean too much to me to let anyone reduce it to rumors and accusations." She paused, emotion flickering across her face. "I may not have handled it perfectly, but I will never apologize for protecting what I love." The video lasted less than 5 minutes, but it packed a punch. It was viewed over 5 million times in the first 24 hours. Fans flooded the comments with messages of love and support. "We've got your back, Joanna. You don't owe anyone an explanation." But critics weren't silenced. Some argued she had sidestepped the actual allegations and painted herself as the victim. One columnist wrote, "Joanna Gaines is a master of image control." This video wasn't an apology, it was a carefully crafted defense. Kelly Clarkson, to her credit, responded with grace. She commented directly on the video, "Joanna, you know I love you. I never wanted to hurt you, and I respect your words. I hope we can talk soon, as friends." The comment earned thousands of likes, with fans praising her humility. But the rift remained. Rumors circulated that Joanna had cancelled several upcoming talk show appearances, including one with a rival network. Meanwhile, producers from other shows saw opportunity. Offers poured in. Late-night hosts, morning programs, even streaming platforms wanted Joanna to share her side of the story. Some even floated the idea of a joint reunion episode with Kelly, where the two women could reconcile on camera. In Waco, Joanna was reportedly torn. She wasn't one for drama, but she also knew how damaging silence could be. Friends close to her said she felt betrayed, not just by the questions Kelly asked, but by how the moment had been handled on air. She didn't expect it to be friendly fluff, one insider said, but she didn't expect an ambush either. Joanna values trust above everything. And once that's broken, it's hard to rebuild. Meanwhile, the cultural conversation around the walk-off deepened. Podcasts debated the ethics of celebrity interviews. Should talk shows prioritize tough accountability or emotional safety for their guests? Commentators discussed the gender dynamics, noting how women in the public eye were often scrutinized more harshly for business decisions than their male counterparts. Joanna, some argued, had become a symbol of drawing boundaries in a culture that demanded constant transparency. The incident even reached fans who had never watched either woman's shows. Memes spread across TikTok, some poking fun at the moment, others praising Joanna's dramatic exit as a mic drop, power move. By the end of the month, both Kelly and Joanna remained inextricably linked by the viral clash. Their names together generated headlines, clicks, and endless commentary. For Kelly, it became a lesson in balancing curiosity with compassion. For Joanna, it was a reminder that her image as America's design sweetheart was fragile, constantly tested by the weight of fame. And yet, beneath all the noise, the moment revealed something deeper. Two women, both powerful in their own right, colliding under the bright lights of television. One determined to ask the hard questions, the other determined to protect the world she had built. As the dust slowly settled, no one knew if there would ever be a true reconciliation. But one thing was certain: the image of Joanna Gaines walking off stage, heels clicking with quiet defiance, would linger in the public consciousness for years to come, an unforgettable symbol of the cost of fame, and the fiery strength it sometimes takes to walk away.